actually went on Fox News, which was pretty interesting. He went on once, I believe, with the chief of police and once by himself. I got a few clips from the time that he went by himself, and what he doesn't say or what he won't respond to speaks volumes. Let's get into this here.
Agencies
But
at the
isn't that
federal
what your
government
lawsuit is about?
that are
Stopping ICE
conducting
right now?
themselves. No, you should read the lawsuit. The lawsuit says that, hey, you know, ICE doing ICE stuff is not what we're talking about right now. Again, we've had ICE in our city before. We've had ICE in our state before. It is the fact that, look, right now, there's about 3,000 federal ICE agents in our city between ICE and Border Control. You know how many police officers that we have? 600. Right. The kind of duress that our city is experiencing because of this is magnified. Again, crime has been down. This is not helping. Chaos has been dramatically increased by the way that these ICE operations are taking place. And we are looking for ways to keep this city safe. I hope that people, especially viewing, can understand that we want to keep this city safe. This is not accomplishing it by any standard.
So he says ICE doing ICE stuff isn't the problem. Well, okay, what is the problem? ICE is doing ICE stuff, and you don't want them there. You tell them to get the F out. He's going to claim that they're violating people's rights and all this stuff. But so what he won't answer coming up here is, why don't you work with ICE for the things that really matter, right? They have a separation ordinance where they won't work with ICE. We all have something like that in Minnesota, unfortunately, where we're not supposed to work with ICE specifically for immigration. We can be there for crowd control and that kind of stuff. But we can't arrest people just on an immigration detainer. I can't as a local law enforcement officer. But what we can do, and what we do in my jurisdiction, what we do is, if we arrest somebody for another crime and they have an ICE detainer, then we contact ICE and let ICE pick them up. Let's get back, hear a little bit more from Mayor Frey.
Appreciate your viewpoint. I want to get a question in and respect your time on fraud. But lastly, just one last one. You mentioned President Trump. So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city, and you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe, arresting perpetrators of violent crimes, stopping car thefts from taking place. That's what I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad that just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy makes our city a better place. So again, if we're talking about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place in the streets of our city. People who are American citizens.
I appreciate the compassion.
I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how concerning that is.
Well, that's him talking out of both sides of his mouth, because he doesn't want his local law enforcement to go out and pick these guys up who are illegal. Nobody's asking the local law enforcement to do that. What they're asking is, hey, like, you pick up these guys because they commit crimes too, at least a portion of them. When they go to jail, you see that there's an ICE detainer. That means that somebody has signed off and said that this person likely is subject to deportation for, whatever. Either they came in illegally or they're here illegally on a visa, but they committed crimes, whatever the situation is, and they're subject to deportation. Except that the Hennepin County Jail will not contact ICE, will not work with ICE, and will not let them pick these guys up when they're in jail. Because what would be really nice is if, hey, you guys pick this guy up for domestic and he's subject to deportation. Let's just pick him up from your jail. Let us pick him up from your jail. He's already been searched. He's already in a safe place. He's not in the community. We don't have to try and arrest him in the community. And we'll just transfer custody to, from Hennepin County to ICE, and then they'll take him away and have him deported. Which is exactly what ICE, this is ICE doing ICE stuff. That's exactly what it is. So that separation ordinance, even though that's frustrating, okay, just honor the detainers. Nobody's saying your local law enforcement has to go out and investigate immigration type stuff. Just honor the detainers.
There's two sides to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head-on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once but twice and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not? Since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE. Whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved? The community, the officers, and even the migrants.
That's absolutely what we're all saying. That's it. That is the big sticking point. I think that is why Trump is doing what he's doing as far as flooding Minnesota with these agents, is that you won't work with ICE on these cases where he was already arrested and then you let him out. I don't know the details of this case, if he was arrested and could have been deported and wasn't, and then he went and drove drunk. I think that that's probably the case, is that he could have been deported. And so this is a life that was lost by somebody who shouldn't have even been in the country. And these are the cases that really frustrate everybody. Now, Mayor Frey won't even touch this. He won't acknowledge this woman's death. He won't say anything. He goes on to spew his nonsense. Listen.
My position here is pretty straightforward, and that's this. If you commit a crime, if you commit fraud, if you commit a carjacking or a murder, you should be investigated, charged, prosecuted, held accountable, and yes, arrested and put in jail.
So that speaks volumes. He goes on to continue to spew that nonsense, but that speaks volumes. He won't even touch that. So he wants people who commit crimes arrested and prosecuted and put into jail. But he won't talk about the immigrant population, that the illegal criminal, or just illegals for that matter. He won't talk about that at all. And that speaks volumes, especially because of his behavior with the Somali community, how embedded he is, how he is just bending, how he just bends over backwards, placates that community just for their votes. Now, we're talking 75 to 100,000 Somalis in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and he had to do that to, from his point of view, to get reelected. And so he is stuck. He can't do what is right for the people of Minneapolis or the people of Minnesota in general. He has to do this just for himself, and that's why people hate politicians, especially Democrats. I mean, the rule of law is not a Democrat priority whatsoever. But there's Jacob, just another piece of Jacob Frey. He can't. The one thing that we want from ICE, between ICE and the local law enforcement, is a collaboration on just honoring those detainers. He says he doesn't want his local law enforcement going out and hunting down somebody like an Ecuadorian dad who just dropped his kid off at daycare and is going to go work a 12-hour shift. Well, funny how there's, he said Ecuadorian dad. I don't know how he knew, or if the Fox just had him set up that way for the fact that he was going to say an Ecuadorian dad, and they have an Ecuadorian immigrant who killed an innocent person, and Hennepin County would not honor the detainer, and she lost her life. That's why people hate these politicians so bad. That's it for now. Thanks, Steve Loomis, Walking